Jaffar Mahmood is a director on The Great for season 3. I'm Matt Noble of Gold Derby. Want to kick things off by asking you, Jaffar, what was the thing that you found most special about this show?
Oh gosh, it's hard to say one thing. There's
Yeah.
so many special things.
But what's one of the things you found special about this show?
It's the writing, first and foremost. The writing is what drew me to the show. I discovered it during the pandemic and was just blown away by the tonal balance that the show achieves. The fact that it could be as funny and as hysterical as it can be heartbreaking, and it's constantly balancing these high stakes with levity, and so like not a lot of shows can pull that off. And so that's, if I just boil down to one thing, it would be that Tony McNamara's genius writing.
And as a director, how do you approach juggling those different tones and sort of shifting gears from tones that are absurdly ridiculous and heartbreakingly tragic?
I mean, it's one of the things that I like to pride myself on. I think that's, I love to explore stories that honor that, because to me that's real life. Like, I mean, it's life often, there's something that absolutely makes you crack up in the day, and then something that can, you can cry through pain all the time, or vice versa. And so I love to explore that. And so any show that leans into to embracing both comedy and drama, and not just living in one camp, is exciting to me. It's something I want to live in.
Mm. Now, this is a show in its 3rd season, The Great. However, you didn't direct in season 1 or 2 of the show. So what's it like sort of coming into this world as a director where there's already sort of an established tone and story and characters and telling and continuing to tell this story?
Yeah, it's something, I mean, I've done a lot of in my career, and so it helps to have practice at it. But in this particular case, again, I chased the show. I was such a fan when I discovered it during the pandemic that I fought to get into it. And so when I got to interview with Tony and sort of sold my case as to what I could bring to the table, like I'm a guy who had a background mostly in half-hour network comedy, so I really understood rhythm and pace and how to make things funny. And that's really the heartbeat of The Great. It really truly is a comedy first and foremost. And of course, it has so much scale and scope, and it's epic, and it's political, and it's got death and battle and heartbreak. But at its core, it's comedy. And so so I just sort of, I told Tony I could bring a lot to it, and that I could really mine his comedic writing to the best, better than most, given my background. And I also love to use the camera to tell the story, and so to be able to heighten those moments that are appropriate to make the camera feel known and feel present. I sort of would lean into that. And so I also just got very lucky and getting handed 2 particular scripts that were really pivotal to not only just the season, but to the show in general. Like 306 is, I would say, arguably as important as the pilot, because it almost sets the whole show in a new direction. So it was a unique experience. It wasn't just your typical random episodes. Like, I got handed something very unique, which was a testament to Tony and Hulu and MRC to trust a brand new director to the stable to give such an important episode, where I was able to do things that it doesn't feel like a normal episode of The Great, 306 in particular. It's almost like its own standalone thing that we had to kind of all find collectively. So it was a fun challenge as a director to come in and do something so big for that particular story point.
Yeah, well, let's talk about that big thing that happens in that episode. So, spoiler alert for people who haven't watched season 3 of The Great. Watch episode 6, and then you can come back and watch the rest of this interview. But it's interesting how you talked about how your sort of big pitch for Tony was, I can really mine the comedy and, with my experience in half-hour sitcoms. And then you're given an episode that has such a tragic moment with the death of Peter. Why do you think, how were you able to mine the comedy in that episode?
Well, obviously there wasn't as much comedy in that episode, but there was quite a bit in 5. But
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, it just, again, that's where I was like, genuinely, when I read the script, I was shocked because, I was just a fan of the show. So the first, I was just heartbroken that Peter died. And then the fact that all of a sudden that I have to come to terms that I'm now the director that's killing him. And I have to actually shoot this. And obviously, again, to me, anything that, wherever comedy is born, also like it's got to be grounded first, right? If you don't believe the situation that the characters are in, it's not funny, right? So if you can make something funny, it's like 10 times easier to make something dramatic as well, honestly. And so to mind this situation of just two people who were finally, like, prior to his death, were like, it was the most connected they'd ever been. It was like that genius scene that Tony wrote. It was like a 12-page scene of the two of them on the bank of the lake, finally getting through to each other. Like Peter was finally the most, like, sort of making the most sense ever in their entire relationship. And Catherine could see it, but she had to stop him for, like, in her mind, the good of the country. And so it just all came from honesty. It all came from, so both, whether it's comedy or drama, it comes from honesty, right? And it comes from, do I believe these characters in the situation? So yeah, so it wasn't that. And again, when you have actors like Elle and Nick, and you have the writing of Tony McNamara, it's, like, I do my nudging and I know how I want to shoot it, but then you also kind of just let them go, because there's, like, they're all Ferraris and just let them drive.
Yeah.
So there's that element of just not overdoing things in that sense.
Yeah. And when you're approaching that scene and the scene before the ice scene where they are talking on the snow, that really long one, what was important to you in how you captured it and how you directed that?
I mean, again, just wanting to really see both of them connect and try to they both needed to get through to each other. Both of them had a clear, objective they're both after, and neither of them was seeing the point that the other was trying to make. But both were coming from love. Like, they were not trying to hurt the other like they have in the past. They were not trying to, like, manipulate the other. They were just truly being honest, and truly just saying, this is what I need from you right now. Can you please give this to me? And neither could see the other side. They said, I love you, but, like, I have to do this. And they both felt that way. And it was genuine, and so it was just wanting to make sure that both felt that they had achieved that, and they didn't take one, to be honest, because they're so damn good. But then obviously we just continue to play to find different levels and to find different vulnerabilities and different moments where one could push back and one could receive. And so, yeah, it was a lot. That was a very tight sequence. We only had 3 days for all of the stuff at the lake. That's it. And so, like, that sequence, yeah, it was very tightly packed. And so we didn't have as much time as we would have hoped, but they still, that being said, they just crushed it because they're Elle and Nick.
And I think also, like, you talked about how you're a big fan of the show. When you discovered in COVID, you, like, chased, like, this particular, like, job. What, like, did anything, like, shift in your perspective going from someone who was sort of a fan of the show to someone who was helping tell the story of the show?
Now, if anything, it's like it was. They always say, like, don't don't meet your idols, or that kind of thing. And this is the case where it only deepened it, because it's true. This show is a true, like, anomaly in that it's really, every single actor on that show is a gem and is a pro and makes the scene better. There's no divas. There's no, people that are trying to show their ego or flex their ego. Everyone's just there to do the best work they can, and it's the best crew of, ever. It's just everyone is there at their A game. And so I went in I was embraced by great people who are wanting to make an amazing show. And then again, I felt like I was bringing something very unique, because not only you'd be surprised how many directors will direct a show that they A, have barely ever seen, or, B, don't really care about because they just want to check or whatever. But, like, I don't come from a place like that. I come from a place of passion and really wanted to share, what I think is important. And so, knowing the characters as well as I knew them, just as a fan, I felt like I was able to come in and actually help all of the actors in a way, like, I could remind them, because they're doing a lot, and I could remind them sometimes, like, oh, like, I don't remember, like, in season, like when Peter the Great came back, for instance, right? And so, like, that was only one other time that Nick was with Peter the Great. And so just Nick and I were having conversations about, how he was playing it the first time Peter the Great was there. Then when I could like tap into that. And I remember Nick being like, how do you remember that? And I was like, because I just know the show. Like, so it's like I'm there to be an aid. That's my job as a director, is to help the actors to navigate the scenes. And I feel like knowing the characters so well and just genuinely loving the world so much, it only helped to make it that much more organic. And
Yeah. And like, I think you're like, yes, it's very good that like you went in and like there wasn't egos and all that sort of stuff, which is great because ironically it's a story where all the characters have big egos. Yeah. Did anything like maybe your perspective didn't shift in terms of, oh man, this isn't the show I thought it was, but it like shifted to like there's something that you gained a greater appreciation for in the show that you couldn't realize as someone who's an audience, just a fan?
I mean, honestly, it's almost like, trying to think of an analogy. It's like you're already a fan of an author, and then you read another book of theirs.
Yeah.
Of course, this person's like, of course, this is another great story they do. So I was just getting deeper within something I already loved, and finding out that they're all just lovely humans that are doing this, that it just, and it's all, the talent's all there. There's no smoke and mirrors. There's no like, this is a show that's made in editing. Obviously the editing is critical to helping with the rhythm and all that, but also like everyone's word perfect. Like that rhythm is there live. And then it's just a matter of cutting between two people talking. Like every person is hitting that rhythm. Like it's like we're almost doing a play, that there was some cool camera moves here and there that accentuate moments. But no, it was truly like I just dove deeper into a dream that I wanted to be in. It was really cool.
What scene was the most fun for you to shoot?
Oh gosh, most fun was probably it was a challenging scene, but it was a really fun one. It was probably when Peter walked into what they call the games room and saw Peter, his dad, and his son, his like older version of his son, playing badminton. And then Elle comes in and smashes the glass and basically tells him that he can't be the leader of the army. That was a really fun scene to shoot. It was a big scene, but it was a lot of great energy and personality between all the actors in that scene, and there was a lot going on, and everyone was just game to have a really good time. So that was a fun one, for sure.
As director, can you think of like a choice that you made in your 2 episodes that you think worked particularly well?
Yeah, I think that probably there's this one specific shot I'm most proud of, and an emotional performance that I was able to collaborate on with Belinda, who plays Elizabeth, was the scene directly after that shot of Nick floating in the water, where we see that Peter's definitely dead. And then we go to back to the palace, and we see Elizabeth in a scene with Georgina, and all of a sudden it hits. Elizabeth gets a feeling. I don't know if you remember this, but like she gets a feeling, and she basically kind of like has to she kind of falls into the table, and it was just a small thing of just kind of booming down on her, and then having this beautiful flare that my amazing DP Catherine Derry helped sort of highlight. And just I felt like it was a very subtle but really powerful moment of like nothing's actually being said, but between performance and camera, I'm telling the audience what to feel. Those are fun moments as a director, when you can take something that's just a small line on a page, but then truly give it a life that you wouldn't normally. Not every director would see the same. So that was a fun moment.
Was it important that you did show like that body floating in the water? Because often in TV shows, like someone you think might have died, but you're not sure whether they're dead, or they come back a couple episodes later. Was it like really important that the audience knew he is dead? That's what's happened.
Yeah, no, that was a critical thing that was very important to Tony. That there was no questioning or thinking, maybe he's going to come back. Because I remember even as a reader, when I first read the script, I was like, until that line came that we see Peter floating in the water dead, I kept telling myself, no, he can't be dead. He can't be dead. He can't be dead. As I'm reading it, and so that was a way to just put that to bed.
Yeah, no, that's good. Like maybe we'll, like, the last Emperor did appear back in the series in terms of visions and stuff, but
Exactly.
yeah, but in terms of being a live active character who could rule Russia and all those sorts of things, it's over. Um, what like, did you as a fan have a favorite scene of the show from before you joined?
Yes. I would say probably because it was just so unexpected and so perfectly encapsulated Tony's dark, sick humor was when Peter was having sex with Catherine's mom in season 2, and she falls out the window, and so that was just the most insane. Like I just didn't see it coming. Like I was like, and then as he was doing it, I'm like, no, Peter, what are you doing? Why? Like, don't be so weak. And then the fact that happened was just like perfect writing. And then of course, what that then the engine that then creates for the story, and the fact that it was perfect. Yeah, that was probably a memorable.
How do you think the show like evolved in season 3? Like, what was new? What was new about the show?
I mean, obviously, it's for me. It's all about Elle's journey. I mean, it's because from 6, what I sort of set up in 6 of the way that Elle has to deal with the loss of Peter. First it's just pure shock, and then sort of flipping a switch to have to find a way to survive and find a way to navigate this. Seeing her evolution from losing what she now realizes is the love of her life, and to figuring out a way to still rule and still have the strength to do so. To me, this, even though it wasn't a part of the season, I would say this season has the most. It feels like it's evolved to a really mature place, and a place of like the stakes have just gotten so high for Catherine in particular. There's just a depth to this season that I haven't quite seen before, but it's while still being hysterical. Like that's the brilliance of the show, is that it's able to play with these tones in such a unique and expert way.
Well, Jaffar, thank you so much for talking to us today about The Great, and all the best of luck with the upcoming Emmy Awards for the episodes you directed. I'm assuming you're submitting the Ice episode.
That's right.
I haven't seen the ballot yet, but yeah, that's what I would have thought. So all the best of luck. It's such a groundbreaking episode for the series, and people watching this interview can go to goldderby.com to follow our awards coverage. Thank you so much for the time. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, man.